and welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing a stack of books that I collected at my time at BookExpo. I can't believe that was already a week ago now. First I'll start off with the stack of YA fantasy books. I waited in line to meet Julie Kagawa. It was so cool to meet her, and I got the arc of Shadow of the Fox signed by her. This comes out in October, and I actually finished reading this because I already had an arc of it like a week before I met her, so I was super psyched to get a copy of this signed, and so now I guess I have two arcs, which I don't need. I'll probably give the other one away. But there is her lovely signature, and she was so sweet, and I got a photo with her. If you have not read this yet, I highly recommend it if you have an arc, and if you get your hands on one in October, then definitely give this a read. I gave it 5 stars. On the back it says, enter an enchanting and perilous land of shapeshifters and samurai, kami spirits, and Japanese legends in a brand new fantasy adventure from the New York Times bestselling author of The Talon Saga and The Iron Fae. I was super excited to get to meet Roshani Chokshi, and she was so gorgeous and so sweet. Waited a long time in line to meet her as well, and unfortunately she wasn't personalizing the books, but she was able to sign them, which is so nice of her because she hurt her wrist, I guess. And she wasn't taking photos, which I was sort of disappointed about, but that's okay. It was so nice to meet her, and I already had a copy of this too, but now I have a signed one, which is just awesome. And it was so funny. I got up to meet her after waiting a long time in line, and I sort of just lost everything that I was going to say. My whole mind was just like completely blank. So, but then I finally remembered where I was and who I was meeting, and said a few words to her. So it's always kind of funny when you meet authors that you really admire, or anyone who you really admire who's like semi-famous in that realm, and can be a little awkward. In that same line, we also got to meet J.C. Cervantes. Don't know if I'm saying that one right either, and this is an arc of her upcoming book, The Storm Runner, which is one of the new books in the Rick Riordan, people were saying his name both ways at BookExpo, so I'm so confused now, but his new imprint, and just look at this gorgeous cover. I also had this arc before I went to BookExpo, but once again, this one is signed, so it's better, right? This next one is in adult fantasy, but I was told it can kind of be a crossover to YA, and I happened to find this line at the perfect time, just by chance, right when they were stacking up all the galleys to give away. So I'm really excited that I got a gorgeous copy of The Sisters of the Winterwood. Look at this cover. I can't wait to see the actual hardcover of this. It's going to be stunning. And this one is by Rena Rossner, and I think I got to see her speak on a panel with Laini Taylor and Naomi Novik. Yeah, I think she was the third one there. So it was really cool to see her speak right after getting this signed. And she signed it in gold, which is so cool. And she said, "To Naomi, believe in fairy tales." Love that. The back of this one, just a little blurb on the back, says, captivating and boldly imaginative with a tale of sisterhood at its heart, Rena Rossner's debut fantasy invites you to enter a world filled with magic, folklore, and the dangers of the woods. Right up my alley. This is yet another adult fantasy that could kind of be a YA crossover, I was told. And again, I just happened to be in the right line at the right time for this, so I really lucked out. And this is The Witch of Willow Hall by Hester Fox. She was also super sweet to meet, and she signed all of these with her little personalized stamp of this like bat lady, which I thought was so cool. This one takes place in the 1820s. That's really all I know about it, but I'll read a little bit here. It says, New Oldbury, 1821. In the wake of a scandal, the Montrose family and 3 daughters, Catherine, Lydia, and Emmeline, flee Boston for their new country home, Willow Hall. The estate seems sleepy and idyllic, but a subtle menace creeps into the atmosphere, remnants of a dark history that call to Lydia and to the youngest, Emmeline. All 3 daughters will be irrevocably changed by what follows, but none more than Lydia, who must draw on a power she never knew she possessed if she wants to protect those she loves. So that seems delightfully witchy and mysterious. I was able to pick up a little sampler of Leigh Bardugo's King of Scars. So this is just a little like chapter sampler. I think there's maybe 2 chapters in here that it samples. Maybe it's just the first one. No, I think there's the first 2 chapters. This looks really cool. I don't know anything about this. I know I have actually not read anything by Leigh Bardugo yet. Don't hate me. A lot of her stuff is on my TBR list. There's just so many things to get to. Really super excited to have gotten a copy of this YA fantasy, The Girl King. This is by Mimi Yu, and I believe this comes out in I want to say September or October. Oh no, okay, this is a January 2019 release. Front it says, "One empire, two princesses, a war that could tear the world apart." It says, "Two sisters become unwitting rivals in a war to claim the title of emperor in this richly imagined Asian-inspired fantasy for fans of Renee Ahdieh and Sabaa Tahir." Very, very excited for this one. That sounds right up my alley, and yeah, I can't wait to get to this one. I also picked up a copy of Part of Your World, or an arc of Part of Your World from Disney. The Disney booth was giving away like so many copies of, they were doing galley drops all day basically, and a lot of the stuff I wasn't interested in, and I read another one in this series, or I started to try to read it, the one that was like the Mulan retelling. I didn't love it, but this was, I think, a different author, and even though it's the same series, I figured I'd give it a try. This is an Ariel and Sea Witch retelling, so a Little Mermaid retelling. It says, "What if Ariel had never defeated Ursula?" And I'm okay, my interest is piqued, I'm intrigued. I will give it a try. I have mixed feelings about this, and we'll see. I did pick up a few YA contemporaries. This is a young adult thriller, Sadie by Courtney Summers. I really like the cover, and I don't know much about this, but they had a ginormous stack of these sitting there, so I figured I would slip one into my already full duffel, because why not? I think this is something that like her sister gets murdered, and then she goes to like on this trip to figure out who it was and seek revenge. I think I might be totally off there. This one is called Mammoth by Jill, I'm gonna try to pronounce this, Baguchinsky, maybe? And this one looked really cute to me. It's, on the back it says, "The summer before her junior year, paleontology geek Natalie Page lands a coveted internship at an Ice Age dig near Austin, Texas. Natalie, who's also a plus-size fashion blogger, depends on the retro style and persona she developed to shield herself from her former bullies, but vintage dresses and designer heels aren't compatible with digging for fossils. But nothing is going to dampen her spirit. She's exactly where she wants to be and gets to work with her hero, the host of the most popular paleontology podcast in the world." And then there's Chase, the intern who's seriously cute, and Cody, a local boy who'd be even cuter if he were less of a grouch. I won't go on to read the rest, but it sounds like a really fun summer read. I picked up a few comic books. This one really caught my eye, and they were nice enough to let me have a copy. It's called Damsels, and this is by Dynamite. This is a teen fantasy comic. Very beautiful. And here are the ladies on this. I love this flap right here, this French fold. And I think the cover says it all. These are ladies who know how to fight. Back it says, "Once upon a time, the princesses of classic fairy tales banded together to save their kingdoms from war." Just sounds like a load of fun. Near that same booth they had, and I think the artist was signing these copies of Norway? Yeah. And look how beautiful these illustrations are. It says this one is about a girl, Sibylla, who always wanted an adventure, but she didn't know it would come in the form of a giant magical bull. And is he a man or a monster? Who knew a prophecy could be so literal? So it's based on the classic Scottish fairy tale, and this is the first in an ongoing graphic novel series, they say, co-created by sibling writer-artist team Kat Seaton and Kit Seaton. Oh, that's so cool. So let's see. I had Kit Seaton sign that one. I picked up a copy of this book from September Sky Press, and it really caught my eye. It's called Sutherland, and what the lady who was marketing this book at that booth was telling me was that it is actually based on a true story of the Sutherland sisters, who were these, I think there was, how many of them, like 6 or 7 or something, and yeah, 7, that's them right there actually. It's really intriguing. And one of them's name is Naomi, which is kind of crazy, but they all had, as you can see, super long hair, and they were basically used in like a freak show. On the back it says, "In 1885, the 7 Sutherland sisters were one of the most celebrated acts in Barnum and Bailey's The Greatest Show on Earth. Hailed across the globe for their singing and envied for their legendary hair, the sisters rocketed to success. Crowds of men chased after the sisters, trying to cut their long locks. Phew. Women paid thousands for their hair care products, and even Queen Victoria requested a private performance at Windsor Castle." And then this story kind of goes into the darker side of that whole you know, speculating the darker side of that whole thing. It says, only a few servants and friends know the darkness that lies behind the Sutherland fame. Anna Louise Roberts takes a position at the Sutherland's governess and tutor. As the Sutherland's governess and tutor, she begins to fear the ghosts that haunt the Sutherland mansion, the madness that plagues their youngest sister, and the family curses that slowly contaminate their fame. Like mythical sirens, the Sutherland sisters call Anna to a life of comfort and luxury while ensuring her doom. So this is definitely based on a lot of actual history, but it looks very mysterious and very odd, and I think it'll be an intriguing read. Picked up an arc of Thief of Corinth by Tessa Afshar. This one takes place in 1st century Corinth, and the protagonist's name is Ariadne, and this is a kind of retelling of some biblical fiction or something, because it says on the back, no one brings the Bible to life like Tessa Afshar, so I didn't realize that when I picked it up, but that's cool if you're interested in that kind of thing. This is an adult fantasy called The Way of All Flesh by Ambrose Parry. It says on the back that this novel is inspired by Dr. Marissa Heitzman's research into the history of medical innovation, specifically the pioneering work of Dr. James Simpson and the birth of modern anesthetics. I also got a copy of, what is it called? Crossroads and the Himalayan Crystals, and I think this is adult fantasy, or is it YA? I'm not sure. It just says fantasy on the back, but an ordinary school day in Middlefield turns into a mystical tale filled with endless adventures of magic fairies, flying horses, and danger. The author was there signing these, so I got to meet her and got that signed, and I had never heard of her, so I'm intrigued to read this. This is by Balboa Press. Lastly, I just have a few nonfiction items. I got to meet Grace Bonney, which was one of the highlights of my trip, and she is the author of In the Company of Women, which is an amazing book. If you're a female entrepreneur or interested in, you know, women-owned businesses or anything like that, then I definitely recommend picking that up. I highly recommend it. And she just started a new magazine called Good Company, and this is the community issue, this first one. Look how pretty that is. And so on the top it says Where Creativity Meets Business, issue number 1. And so it's a whole magazine for basically women entrepreneurs and, you know, creative entrepreneurs, and which is what I'm all about. You know, that's what my life has been filled with for the last several years, and Grace Bonney has just been a real inspiration to me, so to get to shake her hand was so cool, and she signed it right in there, so very excited. You should check this magazine out. I also love books about the creative process, and was lucky enough to find this one, which they were giving a few away, and look how gorgeous this gold foil cover is. This is called Dancing with the Gods by Kent Nerburn, Reflections on Life and Art, and really about, you know, the creative process and creating beauty, and that artist's process, no matter if you're a writer or a painter or, you know, whatever your art might be. Lastly, I picked up a copy of Shinrin-yoku, the Japanese art of forest bathing, which I've read about before, and it's something that I think I've just done naturally before. It's one of those things I feel like you don't necessarily need to have a book written on it, but nevertheless, I thought it was really cool, and I love the concept of this, and it's kind of a heavy book. I'm not sure why I added that to the giant bag that I was carrying, but, you know. But it's got a lot of cool stuff in it, and perhaps I'll learn something new from this. So here are the books that I got at BookExpo. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that haul, and subscribe if you want to see future videos. I might do some about writing soon, as well as book stuff, because I have decided to take part in Camp NaNoWriMo in July to set a writing goal and try to stick to it, even though it's going to be a really busy month. And originally I was going to only set a goal for like 30 minutes per day, but it won't let you, well, I could do minutes. I was going to do hours, and the minimum hours that it'll let you set a goal for is 30, so it's like, okay, I'll do an hour a day. We'll see how that goes, but yeah, I want to get back in the habit of writing more again, and I thought that would be a good way to hold myself accountable. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! You guys like my shirt? Book nerd.